So in the previous chapter, after we found out that Reno was the only member of the defense corps that was capable of using the number 6 weapon because he had compatible cells, we saw that they pretty much immediately had him begin to test it. And at first we had just seen him using like the arm portions of the suit, and as soon as they began to activate it, it was already just way too much for him and he just passed out. And this goes back to Ogata saying in that chapter that the immense burden and increased dispatch to the front lines has led to half of the users to lose their lives before they are discharged. And amongst those, weapon number 6 is known as the strongest and most dangerous. So after he wakes up in the infirmary, we see Iharu there with him, and Iharu is going to play somewhat of a big part in this chapter that we're going to be discussing today, but I'll get into that. And it ultimately comes down to Ogata saying you get a 1-month evaluation period, and after that I'll have you go out to subjugate, and then I'll determine if you're fit to wear number 6 on the battlefield. And that brings us to the beginning of chapter 60, where we see Iharu gearing up, and he's remembering when Reno had passed out after he first put on the arms of number 6. And he says, when Reno failed the compatibility test, a part of me felt relieved. But then he kind of tries to knock the negativity out of his mind, and he's like, I'm the worst. That won't do me any good. Just watch, Reno. I'm gonna keep up with you. So like I said, Iharu is playing somewhat of a big part in this chapter, especially with his own competence and the meteoric rise that Reno is currently having, because they've always kind of had this, rivalry going on throughout the series, at least since they've both been introduced to each other. But as we keep going further, this little storyline rivalry between them seems to keep subtly progressing more and more. And it makes me wonder, like, is Iharu going to eventually rise to the top as well? Because, it's extremely unlikely that he's going to be able to get a numbered weapon, but I'm pretty sure he's going to get stronger somehow, and he's going to be one of the spotlight characters going forward in the series. Because in chapter 58, when Hoshina was laying out like the current plan that Fence Corps is going to be proceeding with, at least for the upcoming perceived maybe final battle against Kaiju number 9, it's growing the potential of their best young talents in a short amount of time, I guess, because Kaiju number 9, after taking Isao's body, while he gains intimate knowledge of the defense corps, he doesn't have the insight that their young talents such as Reno and Iharu here would grow strong enough, in however long, a couple months, to be able to mount a substantial offense against future raid or whatever. So either Iharu like grinds it out and he's able to unlock like more potential of his suit than Reno possibly, and he gets stronger in that way, whilst Reno of course still has number 6. So it kind of balances each other out maybe, or Iharu has like a heel turn at some point maybe, and that could be what this is all setting up. Like, maybe it's not just setting up a future friendly rivalry where they keep pushing each other and keep helping each other on the battlefield, but it eventually comes down to, oh, this is Reno's big final opponent, because maybe this inner conflict possibly leads Iharu to joining the Kaiju somehow. Like maybe number 9 in the future or something senses that Iharu is like desperate to get stronger, desperate to keep up with or just surpass Reno, that he, makes him a Kaiju similar to how Kafka became one or something, because that still needs to be explained too. But anyway, remember when I said in the previous chapter that Ogata was giving Reno a 1-month evaluation period with the number 6 suit, and then afterwards they'll go out and subjugate to see if he's ready? Well, it turns out we're at that point, because this is like at least a 1-month time skip at this point from the previous chapter, and Reno is wearing the full number 6 suit, and yeah, it looks great. It actually looks similar to Hikari's number 4 suit, but the subjugation is taking place in like this isolated area where this mold type afterbeast is, with a resilience of 6.4. So it's not weak by any means. But going further, they say that Reno's data shows that he's had abnormal growth since enlistment. And while his current number is quite inferior to Kokoru's, when looking at the release force overall, he surpasses her in terms of speed of movement. and he's what they'd call a genius. So Reno was shown throughout the series to be certainly above average in his abilities and whatnot, but this is the first time he's straight up being called a genius. Hikaru was pretty much the one who was referred to as that before, you know, with her being a prodigy and whatnot. And I also mentioned this in my previous reviews as well, that there could be something about Reno that might be suspicious. His ability to adapt to number 6 as to where no one else on the force can. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but this all could be leading to something possibly. But another interesting thing here is that Reno isn't able to release as much as Hikaru is currently, and we're not shown any percentages in this chapter, so we don't have like exact data on how powerful he is and how powerful Hikaru currently is. But from what I remember, I think she was able to release at like 54% or something. She probably could do more than that now, especially with the time skip, but at least we have a ballpark of where Reno is possibly. But it's also mentioning that he's faster than her now, so it seems like one of Reno's main attributes going forward is going to be like his speed. He's going to be like the fastest guy, or at least of the rookies. Then we get some interesting exposition here when Ogata says, like I told you before, the burden of eminent monster weapons is large enough that they chip away at the user's life. This is of course upping the stakes for Reno using the suit, so I guess we're just not comfortable with him yet, just immediately acclimating to it the way that it's been shown so far. And with that, he can only use it for like 10 minutes at a time, or more so. That's the time limit that Ogata has given him. So, you know, going forward, we might see him try to use it for more than 10 minutes, and then that's going to be the point of where like he's potentially dying as a result. So he runs into the mole type afterbeast, and we're starting to see one of the abilities of this number 6 suit, and that it has like the ability to produce ice. Like we see the ice like emanating from his boot, and it's like sticking to the ground. And earlier on in the chapter, when we see Iharu like observing the suit, he says it hasn't even been unleashed yet, but I feel like the cold air is going to freeze me just from being near it. And also, if we go back to the beginning of the previous chapter, when we see Hikari in the flashback observing like number 6 when it was still like a monster, her and her unit are wearing like jackets, and you know, they have the cold breath coming, and it's like snowing. And of course at the time we just assumed it just happened to be snowing that day, but I'm thinking this is like because number 6 was there. Like he was so big and so powerful that he just changes the climate of wherever he is. And this could possibly be showing us like what the full potential of Reno could be. Maybe like he just changes the entire radius around him, you know, however it may be, into like an Arctic environment. But that being said, right now he doesn't have nearly enough control to do that, but he has very little control over the suit itself because he's inadvertently sticking to the ground. And we see the afterbeast like capitalizing on him being stuck, but then Iharu comes in yet again and defends him against it. And this shows us the flashback of him doing previously in the series, further establishing that they have like this friendly rivalry, camaraderie going on, where it's like a give and take type dynamic. And Iharu doing this helps calm Reno down, and we see him just blast the afterbeast with like a huge impact from his gun. But we're also seeing that he's able to like stick to the trees with his, you know, ice ability, so he can get like a better shot from above. And not only is he able to fire like more powerful shots now, you know, because the suit allows him to release more of its potential, but he also has like an ice ability with it. So when he shoots this afterbeast, not only is it taking the impact of the bullet, but it's also like turning to ice, and this just causes it to like shatter like glass. And Iharu is like so enamored by this that he doesn't even notice like an afterbeast coming from behind him, and Reno returns the favor by this time defending him, and Reno just completely dominates this thing, you know, rain of bullets, turns it to ice, and it's like sticking to the trees. But the final panel of the chapter is Iharu saying, "Don't leave me behind, Reno." So like I said, like, where is this headed? Is it going in like a tragic, nefarious direction? Let me know what you think about that in the comments. And what do you think about Reno's power progression? Is it too fast? Is the series going to be shorter than we think it is? Let me know. And if you liked the video, guys, please give it a like, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.